Hey Eagle fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into Philadelphia Eagles Now, and today I asked for mailbag questions. You guys have a lot of Eagle-related questions. Even though the trade deadline is over, still a lot of thoughts and questions you want me to answer. So we're going to answer them here on this mailbag video. Of course, if you're a subscriber to Philadelphia Eagles Now, then your question has a lot better, higher chance to get asked and selected. So we'll start with BLSG, who says, how many games out of our next three, Giants, Browns, Seahawks, do you think we will win? Or we will possibly get destroyed by Seattle in Week 12. Wow, we're already just predicting the destruction by Seattle in Week 12. Well, I mean, let's be honest. The destruction of Seattle Week 12 is probably going to happen. But I think Philadelphia, in terms of their upcoming schedule, has a very good chance to win the next couple of games. Now, obviously, bye week this week. Not much to talk about in terms of who they're going to play. But then you have at Giants and at Browns. Not easy games by any means. We saw what the Giants did to the Bucs on Monday Night Football, almost winning that football game. Probably should have won that football game. So they are at least a competent franchise, one of those one or two lost teams this year that are better than their record actually shows. Now, that they're not great by any means, but still, let's take care of business against the Giants. And then the Browns have been very up and down due to the play of Baker Mayfield. Those will be two cold weather games. Those will be two probably windy games as well. At least the Cleveland one will. And I think Philadelphia, they can take care of business there. You are sitting at 5-4-1 going into the gauntlet stretch. Now, 5-4-1 is huge. And it would be, the Eagles would be way ahead in the NFC East at that point. But then, like you said, going forward, this is tough. Seahawks on the 30th, which, let's be honest, most likely a loss. And you have at the Packers. Then you keep going here. The Saints at the Cardinals, Cowboys, and Washington. This is the final 6-game stretch of this season could very easily, they get 1 win, 2 win. This is why when you see people predict the NFC East, they're saying the winner is going to have 5, 6, 7 wins. Because Philadelphia has an easy path to 5 wins. But after that, their final 6 games are very hard to go ahead and figure out where the wins are going to come from. So I think you're still going to get to 7 or 8. I think Philadelphia can squeak a win out, whether it's against the Packers. The Saints are not as scary as people think. Arizona, Dallas, or Washington. I think that they could at least be getting 2 after that. But they're at 7 wins. But you're saying we beat the Giants, the Browns, Cowboys, and Washington. That would put them currently at 7. Was that 4? So 7, 7, and then 4, and then 1. And then obviously you got to go for the rest of the games for losses. So I think they're going to get to 7 or 8 wins just based on the math there. It's weird math, it's just how it works. Again, tough schedule, but take care of the Browns and Giants, and then the Eagles are going to be in very, 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 very good position to go ahead and win the NFC East. Give me your final score prediction, by the way, down below in the comment section. What do you guys think the final record, prediction will be? Are they going to get to 7 wins, 8 wins? I think 9 is pushing it. 9 would make, if they got to 9 wins, we're feeling real good about Philadelphia. That means they're winning against good football teams. 7 or 8, probably right where a lot of people are going to go ahead and predict, but I'll read them down below in the comment section. How are we going to make the playoffs and how are we going to make the playoffs and become the underdog again? And how? Well, how you're going to make the playoffs is get to 7 or 8 wins like we just talked about, because Dallas is going nowhere. The Giants and Washington, to me, are going nowhere. Maybe Washington makes a run late at the end. I just don't see it. So how is not really that difficult. It's more of who you will play in the postseason, and will you be an underdog? The answer is obviously yes. So here's the current playoff seeding. If the season ended today, Seattle would be the 1 seed. They would have the first round bye. Bucks Rams would be your 2-7 matchup. Very good matchup, by the way. If you decide on the NFC playoffs this year are going to be really, really good. Bucks Rams would be your 2-7. Packers Cardinals would be your 3-6. And then there you go. Philadelphia would play the Saints. That would be your 4-5 matchup. Obviously, last week we talked about this. It would have been Chicago. Chicago lost, and so things get shuffled around. But really, the Eagles will be almost guaranteed to be the 4 seed. And with that being said, they will either play a mixture of the Rams, Cardinals, Saints, or Bears right now. Those are your kind of 7th, 6th, 7th, 5th seeds sitting there right there. There's really a gap between these 4 and 5 win teams, and then teams like the Lions and the Niners who are sitting there at 4 wins. So I think right now it's going to be the Rams, Cardinals, Saints, or Bears, and Philadelphia will be underdogs in all of those, but they're home games, and Philadelphia was an underdog at home last year against the Seattle Seahawks, and they played very, very well and could have won that football game. So anything is possible, which is important to note here, because a lot of people want to tank, and I've always been on the assumption of win as many games as possible, win the NFC East, and roll that. If they get in the postseason, and then you get a win, and then you just kind of somehow find your way in the division championship or the division round game against Tom Brady and the Bucks. You beat Tom Brady, boom, NFC title game. You play Seattle, and then anything can happen, right? It's how it works. It's the NFL postseason. Now, no Eagle game this weekend. We just talked about that, but it doesn't mean you can't bet on any of the other NFL games that are taking place with our friends at BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/EaglesBet. Use the promo code Eagles125 to get a 125% deposit bonus whenever you first sign up. Now, you can still bet on the they win the NFC East. Like, all those bets are still available. But the ones you want to bet on this weekend, of course, are the other NFL games. And they got a full slate all listed there at chatsports.com/EaglesBet. Or get your deposit down and then wait for the Giants game coming up 2 Sundays from now, which could work at the same time. Chatsports.com/EaglesBet, Eagles125. Duncan Doc says, what is our strong point, offense or defense? Defense. Defense is definitely the strong point here. Offense can be, and I think potentially when Miles Sanders comes back, and maybe whenever the wide receivers get a little more rhythm in terms of Rager being back. I think Goddard just came back this week. I think the offense can become a strength, but right now it's very clearly defense. Landon says, is Travis Fulgham the next Alshon Jeffrey? The answer to that is yes, and hopefully better. So they're built very similarly, and they're making very similar plays. Fulgham has been great in the red zone. He's been great on the deep ball as well. I think he's a little bit better of a deep ball route runner than Alshon Jeffrey because he's a little bit faster. But I think these are two very good and very similar comparisons, and as to why he's fit very well into the Eagles offense, because he's just taken over the Alshon Jeffrey position that was, made and built for Alshon Jeffrey. The thing is, though, Fulgham is looking a lot better than even what peak Alshon Jeffrey was during his Philadelphia career back whenever he was healthy. So Fulgham right now, through the first, since week 4, he's the leading receiver in the National Football League in terms of yards. And this entire season, he has 29 catches, 435 yards, 4 touchdowns, 15.0 yards per catch. He's averaging, 1 touchdown per game. He's been fantastic. I got him on my fantasy team. Been really great. Here's peak Alshon. When he's from his time in Philadelphia, it was 2017, the Super Bowl run. He had 57 catches, 789 yards, and 9 touchdowns. That was through all 16 games. So you look at this, you start doing the math. Fulgham is already over half the amount of catches that Alshon had, and he's over half the yards that Alshon has, and he almost has basically half the touchdowns, and he's played in way less games in terms of the future projection out here if he plays, the final 8 games of the year. So he's going to be very close to these Alshon Jeffrey numbers, and I think the whole comparison of these two is perfect because, again, that Alshon role, that big body guy can go across the middle, can go deep, can be good in the red zone. Fulgham knows all these things very well, and I think that's part of the reason why he's been able to integrate in the offense so well, and why Carson Wentz trusts him, because you go back to 2017, Wentz loved Alshon Jeffrey and found Alshon Jeffrey on a lot of the big conversions, and we're seeing that again here with Travis Fulgham. Fulgham's been the brightest spot in the Eagles season by far. Philadelphia Eagles says, should we trade a first rounder for Myles Jack? Well, you can't do any more trades, and there were a lot of trade-related questions I couldn't pull because you really can't make trades. But I think this goes back to a future in terms of, next offseason, you want to trade for Myles Jack. And the answer is, Myles Jack could be a great addition. The Eagles need a number 1 linebacker, but I would not give up a first rounder for Myles Jack because you want to save those first rounders for some actual draft needs. You can get him a lot younger. Now, Myles Jack has a big contract, so why not just spend your first round draft pick on a linebacker? Go for my love of top 4 needs right now in the draft is linebacker, offensive line, wide receiver, defensive end. I think that they went linebacker and then either offensive line or wide receiver in the first 2 rounds. It'll be a very successful draft. I think linebacker has got to be a huge focus this offseason, whether it's free agency or in the NFL draft. But the draft has some very good linebackers, and this is why I would say don't give up a first for Myles Jack in the offseason. Micah Parsons is not playing for Penn State right now, but he is easily a top 10 draft pick and probably will be, despite not playing this year, just sitting out due to COVID. Moses is great from Alabama, Bolton, Missouri, Chaz Surratt from UNC. These are a couple of 2nd or 3rd round draft pick guys. That's a very good linebacking group, probably better than what it was in 2020. And Philadelphia, I think, should save those draft picks and spend them on young, up-and-coming linebackers who they can have on cheap contracts going forward for the peak of their career. Of course, when we get to the offseason, we'll have nonstop draft coverage. It's like our bread and butter here at Chat Sports. We hit the news, the rumors, all the draft-related stuff you could possibly... If you want to know about who the Eagles could take and who they might possibly take, subscribe here because we go crazy at Philadelphia Eagles Now, and we'll keep you guys obviously up to date on all the offseason news, but still very far away, but, you might as well subscribe now. Fun one says, I think the Eagles try to trade Jalen Hurts this offseason. I was asked this question a couple weeks ago. No, I just don't see it. How do I say this? I didn't like the Hurts pick. I still don't like the Hurts pick. It was a waste of a pick, but he has been a very good role player in terms of coming in and giving you a 3rd down and 5 conversion, a great completion on Sunday. Just a couple of, just last week, he had a nice conversion on Sunday Night Football, good pass there. He's a good teammate. He's good in the locker room, and I think he eventually will become a great quarterback in the National Football League. Sal Paolantonio from ESPN mentioned that Carson Wentz has 8 weeks to save his Eagles career, which to me is a little bit dramatic. But I think that they were going to keep Jalen Hurts for the long term, just in case Carson doesn't turn out to be what they want. Now, I've said he is, so calm down. But just in case, Hurts can be the quarterback of the future, and I think he's a great guy, a great teammate, a future great player, and he's very cheap. Now, if you were to trade him, you have to look at teams that need a quarterback, and so here's the list of teams that will for sure be getting a new quarterback this offseason. I mean, I guess not for sure, but more than likely. I think the 49ers are probably up there. Dallas, now they could re-sign Dak, but they might want a new quarterback. The Jaguars, I don't think they want Gardner Minshew. Washington is very off Dwayne Haskins, and I don't think Kyle Allen's the future. And the Patriots, I don't think Cam's going to make it through a 2021 offseason. Now, there are some other teams that have older quarterbacks, like, Brady and the Bucks, the Colts with Phillip Rivers, Falcons and Matt Ryan, Saints and Drew Brees, the Lions and Matt Stafford. They're going to eventually need one, so if you wanted to trade a candidate, like a team that would want to take in, those are the guys, but I don't see them trading him, and I don't think a team will give up more than a third or a fourth round draft pick, and the Eagles, because they spent a second, won't want to do that, so I just don't see it happening. I'm not a fan of his in terms of the draft pick, but I'm a fan of his in terms of the player and the person that he is, because I've heard some great things about Jalen Hurts. I think it's best that he's on the Eagles, at least going forward. Delco says, what's up with Howie? I think it's Howie Roseman. He drafts upside down. He finds more talent from 7th round to undrafted free agent practice squad and waiver wire signings than 1 through 6. It's a waste of money. I don't know if that's what's saving his job or should get him fired. I believe he should handle those transactions and turn the 1 to 6 round picks over to somebody else. Well, he won't do that necessarily in terms of handling the later round guys and then giving, control to the 1st and 2 through 6 round guys. I think Howie, he's not misunderstood, but he's very much a roller coaster because he does some great things. Now, we've talked about first-round draft picks. He's struggled in that area the past couple of years, but you can't argue his second-round draft picks have been, pretty decent. You can't hit on every single second-round draft pick. Hurts, a problem, but still a good player, and someone else would have taken him there. It's not like they wasted in terms of, overdrafted or drafted a bust. Now, Miles Sanders was a second-round draft pick. He was great. Now, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was not, but Goddard was a second-round draft pick, and he's the tight end of the future. Sidney Jones was not. So he is hit or miss, and I understand that, and I get that, and he's had more draft busts than good draft prospects. But at the same time, like you mentioned, the undrafted free agent practice squad, poach guys that he's added to this roster that are playing and playing well, is probably keeping his job. Fulgham, now he did cut Fulgham and re-sign him, same with Greg Ward, but Nate Urbay, Jordan Mailata, Alex Singleton, TJ Edwards. These are all guys that, if they're not late round draft picks, they're undrafted free agents, and they are playing some pivotal snaps on an Eagles roster. Now, they wouldn't have to be if starters would be able to, actually play and play well. If Jackson and Jeffrey were in there, then Warren Fulgham probably would not be playing right now. If the offensive line was healthy, you wouldn't see Urbig or Mailata. And if they have drafted linebackers, at least Singleton wouldn't be out there, probably TJ Edwards. But I think that Howie needs to really nail this upcoming offseason because you got the cap space, which is an issue. You need to nail some draft picks. He has got to really work hard. I think he'll probably get one final shot at this roster, but Philadelphia has the same problems they've had the past couple of years, especially with draft picks. Next season, Howie Roseman will be moving on, and I don't see any sort of scenario where he would actually stay in Philadelphia. But again, they won a Super Bowl. The roster is still better than a lot of other teams. Philadelphia is by no means in this, perpetual losing situation. They're competitive every single year, and being competitive probably keeps Howie Roseman's job more than anything else. Now, made it this far. I want to leave you with one final question. You think the Eagles should fire Howie Roseman? Would you want them to do it? Let's say either they go to the postseason and get blown out, or they don't win the NFC East. Let's just say that they don't have a successful overall 2020. Do you want them to fire Howie Roseman? Type Y down below for yes, type N down below for no. I'm curious what you guys think overall with this one. There you go. Ultimately out for today here. A little bit longer of a mailbag video. A lot of good questions. Wanted to kind of dive into some of this with you guys. Obviously a bye week, so we'll have plenty more coverage coming up next week in terms of getting ready for the Giants because, every win counts. Get back to 500 next week if they can beat the New York Giants. Again, ultimately out for today here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. I'm your host, Thomas Mott, signing off for the rest of your day.